Welcome to the City Lights Zoom room. My name is Rebecca Wallace. I'm the marketing director at City Lights, and I'm there moderating talkbacks or saying hello to folks in the lobby, so I may have seen you before. We do these Zoom talkbacks for every one of our main stage shows, and it's a fun way for folks to check in and ask questions, go behind the scenes, and sometimes check in from afar. I know our director, Jeffrey Bracco, is in Toronto right now. So, hi, Jeff. I have a bunch of questions I'll ask for folks. There'll always be time for audience questions. If you want to have your camera on, great. If you don't want to have your camera on, sad, we'll miss you, but we know you're here. We do record these events and they'll be on our YouTube afterwards. So, you can just watch it all over again. You can watch it as many times as you want, just like you can see this show almost as many times as you want. So welcome everyone. Let's go around. We have a bunch of different artists from our cast here tonight. It's a bit of a small turnout because a lot of folks are in rehearsals for other shows already. The clock never stops when you're working on theater. I know at least one of our actors, Caitlin, who plays the Queen, is directing City Lights' next show, Dracula, a comedy of terrors, which I'm so excited about. So she's in rehearsal tonight. But we do have some lovely folks here. Why don't we go around, introduce yourselves. We're going to start with Jeff, our director. Say your name, say your role with the show. And because this is a backstage talk, tell us one of your favorite things that happens with this show that the audience doesn't see. To put you on the spot.
Okay.
Go, Jeff. What's one of your favorite things the audience doesn't see?
First of all, hi everybody. Yeah, I'm the director, Jeff Bracco, and one of my pronouns are he/him, by the way. And one of my favorite things the audience doesn't see is that backstage is so packed with things that I just try not to go back there. Or I tried during rehearsals and during performances just to stay away because it's so packed with furniture and with sets and with costumes. I mean, it's great. It's all very exciting and theatrical and fun, but it's pretty hectic. There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, and not a ton of space, like you said.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like most backstages, but kind of supercharged with this show because we've got some great sets and some great costumes, and they all take up a lot of space and a big cast, so it's fun.
Indeed. Who would you like to pass it on to next, Jeff?
How about the King Basilius Dylan? Oh, I just said what you're doing in the show, but you can say it.
Wow, thanks a lot for introducing me. No. Yes, I'm Dylan Bagwell. I play King Basilius. One thing, yeah, he forgot to mention that it's packed with his people as well. Yes, we're very crowded back there. Probably one of the at least the funny things that the audience doesn't get to see is I have a quick change moment, and I'm expected to sing because it's a whole group number during Turn to You. And so I'm in the middle of taking practically everything off, my undershirt and everything, and I'm still like in the middle of singing, and so I'm going like Turn to You, and I'm trying to like take off my shirt and stuff like that. So I always find that very amusing because I don't know if I sound very good if I'm changing.
So how is your mic attached to you during that point? I'd be afraid I'd knock the mic off and all the changing.
I do have to pay close attention because there's a metal piece that kind of sticks out. So the first time I took my shirt off, the whole mic just completely ripped off. So I now purposely really avoid that spot. But the ensemble has to change far more often than I do. So I just have that just like two quick changes. But they have I don't know how many.
Thanks, Dylan. Who do you want to pass it on to next?
We can go to Chloe.
Hi, I am Chloe. This is the most normal part of my house, so I'm sorry, Dylan. I play Pythio / the Oracle. I think my favorite moment that audiences don't get to see is before Heaven is a Place on Earth. I am on the platform, like hiding underneath Caitlin and Dylan as they arouse each other. And it's just hilarious. I just have to lay down and like get as close to the edge as possible so that they have enough room, but it's hilarious.
Yeah, it does get cramped up there.
It's just so awkward. I mean, it's not awkward because it's the show, but I don't know, it cracks me up every time. Yeah, if you haven't seen the show, I mean, if you have seen the show, then you know what part I'm talking about. But if you have not seen the show, I guess I won't spoil it. But just realize that I'm hiding there. And it's a little bit of a threesome.
Nice. If anyone hasn't seen the show and you are concerned about spoilers, just put a little something in the chat so we know to be extra careful. I'm looking at the names and I certainly know that a bunch of you have seen the show. But if you haven't and you're worried, we'll tell you when to mute if we're going to say something that's spoilery. Chloe, who's your chirping friend in the background?
Oh, that is my cockatiel. His name is Cletus, and he's very noisy and he's very sad when I'm not paying attention to him.
I love cockatiels.
Making noise.
No, it's nice. It's nice. Thank you, Chloe.
You're welcome.
Dane, let's hear from you.
Rock on. Hell yeah. Awesome. My name is Dane Lentz. I am in the ensemble. I'm the one that wears red in the ensemble. And I use he, him pronouns. And my favorite part of the unseen story of Head Over Heels is probably just checking in with everybody right before we go into our first big entrance. Because, we're all kind of sort of in that little like post lobby area right before you get into the to the house. And we're all just like connecting with everybody, checking in, just like saying, hey, I got your back. I got your back. I love you. You're awesome. You're amazing. Let's do this. Let's kick some ass.
That is nice. I can picture that too. I know it's a really friendly cast. I mean, like friendly to each other. I mean, not that you're not friendly to other people, but like you all seem to get along well.
We all
Well,
actually,
Dane-
that's kind of thing. It's good content.
Yeah. Dane gives the best hugs.
Yes.
We appreciate Dane.
Dane is a champion hugger.
I extend this invite to everybody. If you ever need a hug, just come find me. I got you.
Awesome. Thank you, Dane. And we have Ms. Lisa here. Oh, thank you, Pat. I see a couple. I did see in the chat. Lindsay said, haven't seen the show yet, but I'm going on Thursday. Okay, so we'll be a little extra careful. There's some things that we won't talk about, like that. So you'll get that after you see the show. And Pat says, saw it. It was great. Thank you so much. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Millette. I'm the executive artistic director for the show, and I did not direct it. Jeffrey did. So, but I do have. I use she, her pronouns, and I do have a moment that I just think is the sweetest thing ever. During Tech Week, when they were running through, the cast was doing the show night after night, and we're adding all the tech elements. And I don't think this is giving anything away, but they go on a journey, and the entire cast goes on a journey throughout the theater. And by its very nature, the audience can't see because it's behind them. But during the Tech Week, I stood up and went and peeked over the back of the seats, and they're so adorable. This cast is just stayed totally in character, filled with all this energy, talking about things, walking by where they're not on a stage, but they could have been. If it were in the round, it would have been completely a beautiful part of the show, filled with energy and light and improv. And even though the audience doesn't get to see it, they can hear it. But I watched it, and it was delightful, just delightful.
Oh, I love it. Lindsay's like, I wonder where I can see that from. I have a favorite moment too. And as a marketing director, I'm not as involved with rehearsals, but I sit in whenever I can. And I love the mic check There's the moment before people go on stage. They go on. For those of you who've never seen a mic check, the actors go center stage one by one, so that the sound folks can test their mics and make sure that they sound okay. And I love to see what people choose to do when they test their mics. If they say a line from the play, or they sing something, or they just sing something totally different. It was sometime during opening week where you all suddenly busted out into boy bands, and there were different things, and everybody kept going up and like singing different parts of boy band songs, and it was like, yeah, it's a great way to get the energy up, but it's also just fun to see what people choose to do, because sometimes it's like,
a little thing
oh,
to
yeah, go
add
ahead,
on
Dave.
about that. Kaylee, our stage manager, actually gives us some certain themes to follow for mic checks.
Oh, I didn't even know that. She gives you
Yeah.
themes. I love it.
Let's see. This past weekend we had bucket list roll. We had villains. And I think our next one is something called like guitar solos. I don't really know what that means,
So
but
you're all like,
I'm very curious about that one too. Yeah, I had a question for that because I was like, guitar solos? Are we supposed to just go up there and go, wham? Like,
I mean, it's fitting for 80s music. Why not?
But bucket list rolls is great, because that's another thing you see in a lot of shows, that people go up and just sing something from a show they've never been in and they just would love to do, or it's a gender bent moment where you you never get cast as this, but then you get to sing what you want to sing. That's fun. There should be like a whole documentary about mic checks. Anyway, I could go on, but I won't. Dana's thinking about it. Let's what should we start out with? Well, I always, as those of you know who come to these things, hi Dan, I always do photos. I always pull up photos people haven't seen yet, and I always like to start with the silly photo that is taken on the last dress rehearsal, because everybody looks so delightful. Dane, you look like you have drumsticks growing out of your ears, which is kind of awesome. I'm a little bit afraid of King Basilius, who is in the middle of the giant sword, but this is kind of another way that people show their personalities. So that's my favorite. And we can also see our wonderful vocal director, Tina, and choreographer, Jen. It truly takes a village to put together a show like this.
I was going to say, it looks like Jen looks possessed down there in the bottom right-hand side of the picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chloe's got that great rainbow number on. I love the rainbow. That got so many cheers when I saw it on opening night.
There's actually a guy who wants to rent it from me.
Nice.
Yeah, for like a pride thing. I'm like, okay, cool.
Somebody asked about Basilius's pants too, those purple pants. So these costumes, I'm sure, have
Same
all
guy.
kinds of lives. oh yeah, was that Robbie? Okay, so that was Robbie from our nonprofit partner, Christians and Film. Yeah, I was going to mention later. We do have a couple of Pride Night events with this show, and that was one of them. Oh, Gwen looks like they're about to choke themselves with that stick. My goodness. Funny. Well, so as I said, I will be popping up photos throughout our hour here. But I always like to start with our director. And our director is a triple threat, in case you didn't know. Yeah, I want to like make up two random skills. Like he can juggle pretzels. No, he's a playwright and an actor as well as a director. You last saw him on our stage in Nora, A Doll's House. Fantastic show. And he co-wrote Truce, A Christmas Wish from the Great War, which has been on our stage twice. So we're always happy to have him back. Jeff, what drew you to this show? We know you were awesome at doing big musicals. I loved Green Day's American Idiot. Why? And I often ask this to directors, why this show? Why now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, as you say, I mean, I do love directing large scale musicals. It's always fun to do that at City Lights too, because of how close the stage is to the audience, how close the audience gets to the actors during the show, makes it a lot of fun. This show in particular is great because it's full of life, full of energy. And it's really, it's very much about being yourself and loving who you want to love, and making choices in life. And I think it's very much about just who people are today and who we need to be, and or who we want to be, being who we want to be. And I think that's really what the positive message. And it is fun. It's also fun and silly, and we need the kind of a fun silly show as well. Although it's got its moments, it's got its serious side too. So it really kind of ticks off a lot of boxes. So and I guess the other aspect too is the other part of the show is that it's got some great 80s music by the Go-Go's, and I remember when these songs were on the radio. Well, they're still on the radio, but I remember when they came out. I remember, I came of age in the 80s. So it's really fun to kind of go back to this music and look at it in a new context.
And it is a new context. Somebody was saying on Facebook, like the elevator pitch for this is that you have this Elizabethan romance combined with the Go-Go's, and you wouldn't think that it works, and somehow it does, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful. And I keep thinking when I watch Caitlin Lawrence Papp on stage, our queen, who unfortunately can't be with us. I already said that. I just said it again. You can tell that she's got Shakespeare chops too. And I feel like I don't think you need that to be in this show, but I think it doesn't hurt, right? I mean, was it a little bit difficult with the Elizabethan language and the Go-Go's lyrics, or did it just feel, for everybody, I guess, did it just feel like kind of a natural mix?
Well, I should probably let the actors take that, but it is a it was a little challenging. I mean, there were some words we all had to look up, and some things were like, what is this line about?
Portage. I was like, what is portage? I had to look that
What is
up.
portage, right? um, but you certainly get it from the context, and then once the actors kind of know the words, they can have fun with them and act them. And I think the language, I mean, there's some things that are thrown in there just to be somewhat silly in a way. Like some of the lines and some of the words are just fun to say, and don't really impact the story as much. And so I think they're just there to kind of add some fun and some window dressing to it. But it was a little challenging in a couple of spots, I think.
Oh, yeah. Dylan, you're smiling. You had a lot of them. Was there a particular line that tripped you up?
Well, it was just kind of a struggle for me in general. This is my first time doing anything like Shakespearean, or yeah, I mean it's not
Ah,
Shakespeare, but it's like
yeah,
that kind of style. And so yeah, I definitely got a lot of diction notes.
yeah. It didn't show, though. It didn't show.
Well, because I worked on it. Yeah, it was just a lot of it kind of it started turning into me having to understand what's the message that's trying to be conveyed. And once I understood it, it was easier for me to kind of convey it, or at least say it in a way that would kind of make sense. One of the lines that always messed me up was during Heaven is a Place on Earth, and we're in a cave, and I say something like, "Oh, how thy voice doth lilt," and when 'tis divided by thy rugged, lovely visage, or something. It's just I didn't really understand the line, and then I started to understand. Oh, I'm saying their voice sounds so much higher when I don't see them. Like that's all I'm trying to say, and so it just took me understanding what's being said.
But that's so true.
Yeah.
Once you understand it, you're delivering the lines with the utter conviction. And there's a nice note in the script from one of the creators of the show that talks about Pamela, for instance. When Princess Pamela feels that she's getting a wrinkle on her face because she's worried, like you don't play it for laughs. She really believes that. She utterly loves herself and is really, and that's part of what makes makes the humor work from all of you, because
Yeah.
you're playing these roles even in these like silly moments with this wild dialogue, but with perfect conviction. So the audience is right there with you. And
Yeah.
Chloe, I think probably maybe had the hardest words to say, other than the shepherd language. But Chloe, I felt like I'm sitting there going, Chloe's blowing it out of the water as always. How? How did you keep up with all that? And then you had these wild costume changes. I mean, like
It was
your role is
yeah,
a powerhouse.
it was a lot of weird words, but just a lot of practice in the car
Yeah, yeah,
over and
really.
over. My least favorite thing that I say is he thou shalt forbid, she he'll then assume. For some reason that just twists my tongue like crazy, and so I have to like really focus when I say that so I don't screw it up.
I can't imagine why. It seems perfectly legible.
By the way, here's my friend if you wanna meet him.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, he's playing it up for the camera. He's usually pretty grumpy. Anyway, yeah.
Thanks, Chloe. And one of my favorite moments on, I think it was opening night, maybe it was preview. Pythio is a non-binary character, and that's one of the things we absolutely love about this show is the representation from the LGBTQ plus community and characters going on a journey to understand more about themselves. And there was, I think it was opening night when Pythio was talking about gender, and I think it's Dave who says, "Oh, well, Pythio is a they," and it was like, and then some of the audience was like, "Yeah." And I thought that was really cool because you just don't see that kind of representation on stage with a non-binary character. And I love how it's just like, this is how it is. Okay, move on. And I mean, that must feel really good to play that kind of character who we don't see that often on stage.
Yeah, it's not the norm to actually play my own identity, so it's pretty cool. I think it might have been the opening night performance. There was one audience member who came up to me after, and they are non-binary, and they thanked me for showing people that our gender exists and representing. And I guess this is like a super fan who goes to all the head over heels that they possibly can. And
wow,
this was like their 100th something production that they've seen. So that was really cool. I don't know if this person talked to anybody except for me. So I just wanted to make that known that we had a super fan.
That's amazing. As a marketing director, I immediately want to know, how did they hear about the show? That's so cool. I love that. Well, we were certainly excited everyone was excited to get back on stage this weekend because, of course, unfortunately, we had to cancel a number of performances due to illness in the cast, and we were not alone this summer. It seems like there are a lot of shows and a lot of companies being hit. I know Coastal Rep, they canceled some performances of the Pajama Game, and it's just hard. You do what you can, but it's a big show with a lot of moving parts. And I had some people ask me, "Oh, can't you just have an understudy fill in?" And it's like, it's not that easy. It's not that easy with a show like this. And I this is a question, I guess, both for Jeff and Lisa about when this kind of situation turns up with a big cast, musical, with all these moving parts. Like, what do you do? Like, why did we have to cancel, and why couldn't we just have somebody fill in? I mean, I know the answer. That's a rhetorical question. Or no, it's a question I know the answer to, but I'm asking you to answer it. Go.
I'll take this one because it's not the first production at City Lights that we've had to do this for. They rehearsed for 8 weeks. Like they're the lines that Chloe and Dylan just said that are really hard. There's the chemistry between the characters, the lyrics, the choreography, the backstage life. There's a whole show happening. I mean, Noises Off is about this. There's an entire show happening backstage that is orchestrated as carefully as it is on stage, with moving furniture and changing clothes and pathways. And it would be really hard to just throw somebody in that. I'm afraid it would be a little bit of a domino effect. And I just have to say, I hate this virus so much. It has been so challenging to gather people together for a living and have this around us, and being shut down for 18 months and then completely, and trying to keep everybody still working and keep the company alive. And then it's still like 5.5 years later is still causing havoc. I'm happy to say that at least in my experience, it may be really catchy, but mostly the folks that get it are like feel they have a sniffle and they feel fine in like 5 or 6 days, which I think is, a blessing. But I also know that if you don't separate those cast members immediately, they'll just give it to each other. And musicals are even harder because of honestly, like the singing creates a lot more invisible spittle that, like, to me is no big deal, but it does make it easier to catch things if you are singing with all of the support that you need and really projecting and people kiss and know. And so it has been such a difficult decision to figure out how to handle these things. But if we don't have full-on understudies that are ready to go on immediately, the only way to keep everybody completely safe is to separate them, like 100%. Because you don't know, because the incubation period is 72 hours, you don't know if that first person that got it from somewhere that wasn't City Lights, that somebody else might get it in 3 days, and then 5 days later somebody else gets it. So it feels extreme to be like, okay, done, no show. My staff spent days calling 300 people that first weekend. I mean, everything else had to go off, be put to the side. It became all about that, and it's heartbreaking. We only seat 100, so we lost 7 shows. So that's a lot. Yeah. And that's a lot of people that didn't get to see it that could have. I mean, many did exchange, but still, we can't extend this show, can't add performances. Another question that comes up all the time is like, well, why don't you just add some more, make up for it? But we started rehearsals for the next show at City Lights last night. I mean, there's a schedule and we're year round. And also everybody is, this is an incredibly talented group of artists, and they've got other shows. They've got other commitments. They have other things. We told them the date range. We actually tried to see if we could get folks to hold in case the show really demanded, please give us more performances. We investigated whether we could hold another week of their time and talent, and we were unable to. But it has to be everyone, right? 16 in the cast, 6 backstage, stage manager. It's a lot of humans that would need to be available. So no, it wasn't possible. And it's very heartbreaking, but I also know that until this virus really is like getting a cold, it's the right thing to do, just to protect everybody. And they came back so happy to see each other, and our they ran over their things at home before they came in, and everybody feels really healthy. And so the feeling of being supported and cared for, I think, is more important than the show must go on. I think that that's really where we are. And I do think that that is a correct decision, but it baffles me to no end to think about how we continue to do our work when it so quickly can get pulled out from under you so quickly. And even if folks are asymptomatic, they feel fine, but they might give it to somebody else that doesn't feel fine. So sometimes people say, think about like, what is the most impossible thing or the worst thing that could possibly happen? And honestly, I feel like COVID, it happened. Mm-hmm. It happened to theater. It happened to artists. The worst thing that could happen is that you cannot connect and work off of each other and be in the same room together and create and collaborate together. That is the worst thing. Yeah. And it happened. And now I just feel like there's still this little, reminder and remnant. So we are talking as a staff about how to see if we can provide some more support for the production, for telling that story, full on understudies, the resources that would take is way more than we could handle. Like double casts, and then plus the time to rehearse, having those people rehearse. But maybe we get a few swings, maybe we have depending on the show. A lot of times the directors, we tend to hire a lot of actor directors that are also actors. And so last year we had somebody come down with it, and the director went on in that role, even though the director is female presenting and the role was male presenting. It just didn't matter. I mean, she actually did a great job, but she was willing to do that.
Fantastic.
And so now I think, yeah, fantastic. But now I kind of feel like we have to be thinking about that for all of the shows, because it happens like I mean, this is anecdotally, but we lose something every, say, 3 shows, and it's a lot in the winter and in the summer. I think that the virus is catchier at those times, and the musicals are way harder to cover. So, but sometimes it happens in rehearsal, and then I'm always grateful. I'm like, we'll rehearse online, or now you've got all these antibodies, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if it happens in performances, there's really not a lot we can do. And I'm very grateful that most of the audience members and the patrons in our community are understanding. Not everyone, though, honestly. We get a lot of like, really? It's 5.5 years later. Like, why don't you have all of the understudies? Why aren't you prepared for this? Or why don't they go on if they're feeling okay after 5 days, but they're still testing positive? We get that question a lot, because the tests over the counter are antibody tests. It makes sense that your body is still going to have the antibodies. They're fighting it. And if you don't feel, in other industries, if you feel well after a certain number of days, if you are symptom free for 24 hours, you can go back to work. But they say try to stay away from people and wear a mask, and you can't do that on stage. So we have to wait the full whatever it ends up being. So I feel incredibly blessed that this group is back in the theater doing their thing. They worked so hard too. Like, it's not just about the theater company, it's about the artists that put in all this time and worked so hard, and Jeff's vision and Ron's set, and like, it's all, and then just not to be able to do what it was meant to do, which was be in relationship with the audience.
Yeah.
Like, be in relationship with the community. And if you work that hard to be able to have that moment, and then you can't do it, it's a really heartbreaking for everyone, not just the dollars and the cents and all of that. It doesn't feel great. So now we're just everybody, my staff has a tendency to just always look at the bright side every day in every way. So now everybody, did all of that work, and now they're like, but they're back. And now the houses are going to be even more full because those folks had to exchange, but they really wanted to see it. And, everyone's feeling really good about it now, and just really happy to have everybody back. And, I think that we, in general, I'm talking too much. I'll wrap this up. Take things for granted. I think human beings tend to take things for granted, and that we forget sometimes to live with gratitude first. And so when shit happens, then I know for me, it makes me more grateful for when it's not happening. It reminds me how fantastic it is to have these amazing artists. Tons are new to City Lights too. Be able to come together and share their talent with us and tell that story and represent and have the audience be a part of it. It makes me remember how grateful I am for that, and not take it for granted that we can always do it, because we were told, like, basically, no, you can't if you want to keep them healthy. So, yeah, that was a really long answer. I'm so sorry, Becky, but obviously I've been thinking about it a lot lately, and we're starting a new season next month. And I'm like, what are we going to do? How are we going to solve this problem? How are we going to fix it? How are we going to best support the stories we are telling? And also the audience, the experience that we want, we want to give them.
Yeah. So many moving parts. Absolutely. And I think you mentioned to me today, Lisa, that even some of the actors are moving set pieces. Like, they're not just changing costumes in the wings. They're actually,
Yeah.
Dane's nodding.
Yeah.
So
we tried to keep that to a minimum. I remember in a production meeting, we were talking about that. We tried to keep that. We tried to not. We have a big crew backstage, but there are some places where there's just not enough hands,
Yeah.
like to move all the things on. And I mean, one for sure is the vacation, where they have to bring out the little waves. Oh, I guess I shouldn't.
I think we
The
can show
vacation,
that.
yeah. So the
I'll show
little
that. Here, I'll
waves,
show you that picture
and
here.
they've got to come on. They got to go off, and then the tents have to come on, and they have
Here are
to
your
go
waves,
off.
Lisa.
And yeah, there's the waves. So, and of course, everybody is so happy to do whatever needs to be done. But we did try to keep it to a minimum, and that's why we have so many crew members. But then it gets even more crowded back there. But yeah, folks do need help sometimes. Dane, I know we always lean on Dane because he's strong and can lift all the people and move all the things. And so I've directed Dane before, and and I always feel a little guilty that I'm like, oh, this thing needs to be moved. Dane, are you available? You know,
I got it. Yeah, let's go. All right, here we go. There we go. Now you have a show. There you go. Thank you.
Oh wait, now I have to show a different side of Dane. Let me open that up here.
It would, you know, just really, it would be so hard to put anybody into this show because all 16 of the performers have very individual tracks.
Yeah.
Where we're singing this now, we're walking back, we're helping this person with this costume change, then we're doing our own thing, and then this is the only time I have time to go to the bathroom, and so I can't do anything else because that's my little break time. And it would be asking a lot to put somebody into that. You know, on book with singing, and we just decided it was the best way to handle it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, for this show, there's no hiding for the actors. There's no blending in. Everybody, even the the ensemble, the leads, everybody's like front and center in a lot of moments. And so you can't hide. And I told them from the beginning, your personality, your characters, they're going to be seen. They're going to be a big, huge part of the show, and they are. And that's why we've got such a great. I mean, we're lucky to have such a great cast that they can carry that. That each one of them really is a huge part of the show. And I feel like that's even more so than other musicals, because some musicals you do have a larger ensemble and people kind of they're in the background a little bit more, whatever it happens to be, but not this one. There's just so much going on at every moment, and people are really carrying it, which is great.
I had a lot of praise for the ensemble when I saw the show because I really felt like there are every single moment they're on stage, there are distinct characters, there's bits, there's moments, there's always work being done. I think I said it to Dane. I was like, you guys are like the hardest working ensemble I've ever seen. And you've got a lot of costume changes that, like I know I don't see Dylan and Caitlin are pretty much, well, no, you've got that one costume change, but most of the time you're in your beautiful purple regals and the ensemble is popping in and out of stuff. And again, my favorite scene that I'm not going to mention, but they just so good. So good. A couple of nice comments in the chat I'm going to mention for folks watching later on YouTube. Thank you, Jenny. Jenny said, your staff did an amazing job emailing and calling. People on the phone were so nice too, and I'm looking forward to seeing it this Thursday. Thank you, Jenny. Our box office worked really, really hard to get in touch with everybody, and we sent emails and we did all the things. And that's really wonderful to hear. Thank you. And then, excuse me, I was outside. There was so much pollen. And Dan says, we're grateful to you, Lisa, and your wonderful City Lights team. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Thank you. Audience members, do you have questions for our artists? It's okay to type them in the chat or pop open your camera and say something. Anybody have any questions? Oh, Dan has a question. What goes into the decision of whether to use a live band or not? Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dan. Money and space. Those are the two biggest considerations. And if the music requires X number of instruments, I remember when we did West Side Story, I was like, I would love to be able to hire a live band for this, but we don't. How are we going to get that many like violins and brass and
Where would we put them? Yeah.
where would we put them? So the tracks. Don't get me wrong, buying the tracks from the royalty house is quite expensive as well. But the good thing about them is that you get them early, so people are rehearsing with the actual sounds. When you hire a band, they don't usually come in until tech. So all of a sudden, everything that the actors have been playing with a rehearsal track or a pianist, and then all of a sudden there's guitar, bass, drums, and it's sometimes that adjusting needs to take a little bit more time, and you have to have more grace with that. But where do you put them? Like what you see at City Lights is what you see. Like that, this stage for this show is as far back to the wall that we created, because it was just a big open warehouse, as possible. It's 30 feet deep and 50 feet wide, and already we can't hide the scenery. Like people are going to see it from the sides, and that's just something you deal with at City Lights. But where do you put that band? We have done some crazy things. One time we put them up in a loft, and other times they're backstage next to the dressing rooms. But then how do they see each other? There's no orchestra pit. So then you have to think about, like, are we hanging a camera, and is there a monitor? And then if you use real drums, a real drum kit instead of the electric, I like that sound so much better, but it is very hard to control the volume. So then you end up with the carpet, and then you've got the plexiglass, and then you're separating them, and then how do they sync up? So, I mean, sometimes it works really great, but I find it works best if the band is basically on stage. So we had a live band when I directed Fun Home, and they were on stage. There was a little scrim so that you could like see more of them or less of them when you wanted. When I directed JC Superstar, the band was part of, like the electric guitar was in Judas's mind. So whenever he was freaking out, the guitar player came out on stage with him. So if in our space, because there isn't a designated place for musicians, I find that it always works better if you can incorporate it. And that doesn't work for every show. I mean, seeing musicians on stage doesn't work for every story. And they're hella expensive.
Cabaret was so great, but Cabaret, they're in the show, so that makes sense.
Right.
Also for American Idiot, that we had the rock band on stage, and they were
On stage.
part of the look of the show,
That's so
and it really added to it.
They really did. Although because our building is not insulated, we'd have that balance of how loud, too loud,
Right.
Music versus vocals is like a challenge every performance for every show. You have, in the same performance, you have people say, I can't hear the lyrics, or you'll hear people say it's too loud. Are you using a decibel count? Like, is this dangerous? Like, same performance. So it depends on the human and like where they're sitting, and we do the best we can. And it's one of the reasons why we only do one musical a year, folks. A lot of people, like SF Playhouses, I always think we tend to, Bill English and I tend to like a lot of the same plays. You'll see SF Playhouse, and we'll do a lot of the same kind of programming, but they do way more musicals. But their theater is set up better to do it.
Yeah, I do remember that with West Side Story. People saying, "Oh God, it would have been so much better if you had an orchestra." I'm like, "Are we gonna dig a pit?" Like, there's no room, and you can't just have a few instruments and do that score justice. You just can't. So, really good question, Dan. Thank you. I had a couple more photos I wanted to show people since we were talking about. I really like this picture. Let me make it big there. So Dylan is new to us, and Ryan is also new to us. two great folks who we hope we have back on our stage again. I absolutely love this. And I was going to say, like, oh, Dylan, tell folks what's happening in this moment. But there are people here who haven't seen the show. So I think we're just going to let it stand. And you can just say, how much fun are you having at that moment?
Oh, I think this is where you start to see Basilius's other side, I guess, because,
Yeah.
most of the time he's just not very happy. But yeah, you can see him be more, I don't know, gentle.
He does have an arc though. Yeah, because he starts out as
Right,
like, he's
yeah,
the king who
yeah.
knows everything and everyone's gonna, my wife's gonna listen to me and everybody's gonna listen to me. And then you start seeing the
Right,
softer
yeah,
side. And
yeah.
it must be such a fun role
So
to play.
yeah, I get to be more playful. At this point, I'm starting to be more playful with the character, I think, because this is kind of my last spot before in scene one, and then and then Act Two is just kind of a sprint for me. So Act One, I actually get some rests, but Act Two, I think I have 3 songs and yeah, so I'm just there's one part where it's like I'm on stage and then I'm on stage for until the end of the show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And Ryan's fantastic. I mean, there's so
yeah.
many people who are new to us.
There was a lot of moments with Ryan where I'm like, hey, I want to do this. Are you comfortable with that? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh, that's great. And I've got a nice shot of Chloe here, actually a couple of different verticals. Chloe being superstar here. Love this. And then we have a couple of members of the ensemble. And oh, so that's another one of the ensemble costume changes. I love the snake hand puppet thing. That is so cool. Was that your idea, Jeff?
No, I have to say that was a costuming choice. So, but it's great. It's a lot of fun. I don't know Dane, what does it feel like to wear snakes on your hands for a whole scene?
It's definitely an extension of the character that I'm trying to portray because, I am just basically one of Chloe's little snake, little minions that we got going on. So as creepy as possible while trying to operate these other two heads with my hands, just being like, while at the same time trying to, use the mass of my body as trying to be as serpentine as possible. So it's like challenge upon challenge upon challenge, but overall it's fun. But I will say, trying to get the snake puppets on my big old forearms are probably the biggest challenge, the biggest costume challenge I have at that point.
Well, I would venture to say, Dane, that you probably have more expressive hands than most people because you are an American Sign Language interpreter. I wonder if that connects to dance. Like, do you think that your background and being able to being fluent in ASL, like, is that you are very so expressive with your face and your hands and your body? Like, do you think that has helped to get you into theater? That turned into a big question I didn't expect. Let's go.
Yeah, it can because, for the daily part of my, the way I make a living is just, I got to be as professional as possible. But there is that little outlet of theater that allows me to just let that expression come out because, going from so stoic and so professional to just being outlandish and crazy like Chloe's hair is just it's just another way of expressing the true nature of the story. I mean, you wouldn't, be just that boring person in a story. You want to be as out there as possible, but if you're trying to get the point across, then go for it. It allows me to kind of push those boundaries in my progress as a performer.
But anyone who saw you signing in Every Brilliant Thing would never say that you were boring. Ever, ever, ever.
I'll figure that.
That was a beautiful production. Those of you who saw that in 2022, Every Brilliant Thing, Lisa directed, and we double cast. We had Tassie Alabastro speaking and Dane signing, and both of them.
Tassie, my boy Tassie.
Oh my gosh. And then both of them telling the story, but with the two languages interwoven. One of the most beautiful pieces of theater I've ever seen. Just stunning. Anyway, just go off on a tangent and talk about my favorite City Lights shows all night. It's the best. We have another question in the chat, and I think we're coming up close to 8. So now's the time to pop any other questions in the chat if you have them. Tony wants to know, I've been investigating the roles of artistic directors in the field. I was hoping to ask Lisa, what would you say is the most difficult task of your role before a season and during a season?
So I make a joke that has some truth to it, that our seasons are year round, so it's 12 months. And I, with many other creative minds, take 6 months to figure out what shows we're going to do, and then the next 6 months to figure out how to pay for it. And it really does feel like that. We go with what stories, what plays, and it takes months of work. Reading, talking, applying, being denied, like it goes on and on. Who's doing what, where, when was the last time was this done in a 50-mile radius? And so it takes months and months to pick the 6 shows. And then once they're picked, which is usually by February, say March, we have a budget that we're trying to get passed by the board of directors on August 14th. And we started working on that budget to the money that it costs to keep the company running and to pay specifically for the needs of those particular plays. We started working on that in April. So, and it's still not approved. Like we just had a big meeting yesterday. So that's like technically two of the biggest things that take the longest amount of time and require a lot of work. But honestly, I think just the day-to-day, my job is to gather people around a common vision and set tone and empower those around me. Like, so set the tone of how the energy and how I would like people to walk around in the world when they're working for City Lights, and how they treat each other is really important. And also, what are we doing here? What is the big picture? Why are we here? The staff needs to know that all the time. So I try to step outside of the day-to-day to say, here's the real reason why. This is the bottom line, is this. And it's always a much more high altitude, visionary kind of a reason, not something very small. And so I try to insert that into the way that I do my job, and also just make sure everybody's okay. Is everybody happy? Like, is anybody disgruntled? Like, I sometimes just sit in the back of rehearsals just to make sure that I can, because I think it's part psychiatrist, like just to make sure that everybody is feeling, that there's no tension, that things are people are being creative and bringing their best selves to the room and feel supported, yet not necessarily comfortable. There's a difference. This is something I've been thinking about a lot in the last couple of days. There's a difference between feeling safe and feeling comfortable. And we want everyone to feel safe, but not necessarily always comfortable, because otherwise you're not pushing yourself in the art form. And so trying to find that balance, I think, is something, and try to empower we have like 12 FTEs. So the board of directors is in charge of me, and then I'm in charge of everybody else. That's like they hire and fire me, and then I hire and fire everybody else. And so I do feel like a lot of it is just, Becky, are you getting what you need to do your job? Are you feeling like you're being supported? Are you getting enough information? And I, do that with 10 people.
We spent a big chunk of our staff meeting today talking about how safe and comfortable are not the same thing. And it's so true, because you have to be safe in the room, but a lot of the best art makes you uncomfortable, and it should.
You have to feel safe to be uncomfortable, So that's a balance that is really hard to find, especially like there's a whole new way of thinking about it. I mean, The Show Must Go On is a perfect example. I'm not saying it was great when I was doing all of I came of age in the 80s too. So like I was an actor for many, many, many years only before I was at City Lights. And, nobody cared what you were feeling. Like you just get on stage and you just do it. And there was a lot of, weird, inappropriate stuff that now we're all very, very careful to make sure that is eliminated from this creative space. And I'm not saying that was good, but it is a different way of making sure people feel heard, feel seen, feel like they're in a safe space, and yet still push and allow them to explore characters that they haven't done before. I mean, it's a living and breathing art form. And otherwise, why don't you just watch the movie? Like, it's not puppetry. It is coming from the heart and soul of the actors that you put together in that room. And so just figuring out how to make people feel safe, to take risks and be uncomfortable, to me is not easy and really important.
Well said.
And then there's a question for Jeff.
Yeah, and I think we'll wrap up after that. Jeff, when you direct Head Over Heels again, what would you do differently? Good question. Thank you, Amelia.
Well, that is a good question, Amelia Rodriguez. So I've been asking myself this question a lot because I get to direct Head Over Heels again in the spring at Santa Clara University, where I am on the faculty. It's so every production, even of the same show, is so different because you're in a different space. You have a different design team. You have different actors. Just everything is different. So I don't know that I need to, I need to go into it with like, oh, I'm going to do this differently and this differently, because you're collaborating, you're working with a big team of people. So it's just naturally going to be different. It'll, I mean, I think I've learned a lot, and I know that, it's a bigger, like there's a lot more choreography than I originally thought. So, that is some things like, okay, well, the choreographer needs more time and things like that. So, there are certain little hints that I've picked up, or certain little things that I've been able to learn from that. And then I guess the only other thing to mention is, especially with jukebox musicals, you really have to make sure you're telling the story as clearly as possible. Because sometimes the structure of the story, or the elements of the story isn't as clear as some other, maybe more traditional musicals. So that's something that, I mean, I think we've done a really good job with this cast and this production of telling the story. That's something that I'll go into the next one really focused on the story, even as much as possible, but we'll try and do the same type of thing, which is make sure we tell the stories clearly and as clearly as possible, and and keep having fun while we're doing it.
So that's at Santa Clara. When does that production open?
In the spring, I think at the end of beginning of June, end of May. Yeah.
All right. So if you loved our show and you want to see it again,
It'll be completely different.
it'll be
Come and see the
completely
new
different.
one.
It'll be at Santa Clara.
Right.
But until then, we run through August 24th. So if you've seen the show, see it again. Tell your friends. All the things. Write something nice about us on social media. All the stuff. And many of you do that, and we appreciate that so much. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to our wonderful artists. I'm so excited for you that you're back on stage, and I know you're going to just continue to knock them dead. Thank you all so much. Have a great night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.